Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, 4 nerds by nerds, hanging out with
Nerdarchy Ted.
Today we're going to talk about mixing, matching, and making crazy monsters. We're going to start this video by thanking our sponsor, One Bookshelf. One Bookshelf is companies like DTRPG-Nerdarchy, DM's Guild. Well, down in the description below, you're going to find a link to either DriveThruRPG or DM's Guild, but more importantly, you're going to find a one-time coupon code for 10% off on any order over $10 on any of the One Bookshelf properties. Go check that out. Check out our sponsor. As a matter of fact, we're going to be talking about crazy combinations for monsters in this video. That is a great place to look for PDFs with monsters in them.
Absolutely. So we have this idea that there is a crazy wizard who his whole shtick is to combine weird monsters together to create new threats to send out into the wilds. So what kind of crazy stuff can we come up with?
Right. So we want to kind of like use this video to kind of talk about some of the things that are in D&D that like this is a very common trope. And more importantly, I can't wait to see what you guys put in the comments below for different things that you've done. But right out of the monster manual, you have a carrion crawler, which is basically like an octopus combined with a giant caterpillar.
Well, you've got owlbear, you've got displacer beast, you've got chimera, however you want to pronounce it. You've got things where Gary Gygax back in the day was, let's shove two things together, and the crazy wizard did it. Like that was just how things were determined.
There was a lot of that with the bulette, peryton. There was just so many monsters, and you know what? Frankly, they're fun to use. We are in 5th edition. This is technically more like the 5th or 6th edition iteration of the game. Yet, if you look in the monster manuals, many of those monsters have carried over. Many people very affectionately, talk about stories with those monsters, use them in their games, love them. And we're still making up new monsters that are just a mismatch of real world animals.
Absolutely. And there becomes a great love for that because it harkens back to the beginning. And while some of these things have wound up being given new histories over the years, you look back to the old and it was just crazy wizard did it. And it was fine back then, and it would still be fine today. But it begs the question, what kind of things can we blame on a crazy wizard that are brand new? Now, we've done a number of videos that we call Fast and Dirty, and not all of them are going to fit this criteria, but sometimes I want to take Monster A and Monster B, smush them together, and see what Monster C looks like. Sometimes you're adding more than one thing. Prime example is a creature that I created solely based off of a kid's cartoon show that I watched with my kids, and I took a lizard, I took a spider, and I took a bat and made an abysder. And it's a creature that has availability in multiple sizes down to, small to big enough to actually ride in the Underdark. And it was great because it flies. You don't have to worry about crossing chasms. It's got the ability to walk up walls, so you don't have to worry about debris or whatnot on the ground. So it's a great mount for the Underdark because you never have to worry about the mount travel issue. It can walk on anything.
What is an abysder?
So an abysder is a giant, for the riding one, it's a giant spider, legs. You've got a lizard-like body, but its eyes have been, have the spidery type eyes, and then it has wings as well, so that it can fly, can walk on walls, and, be a good, pack animal or riding mount. Crazy, insane, but there it is.
One of the villains in my current game kind of does this to a degree, but it's more like he's transmuting people into things than animals per se. But like he definitely is that crazy part of his craziness is the idea that he likes to experiment and create things. But I see like we could take that idea and you can bolt that onto any kind of villain you want to use in your game where they may not even really be malicious per se, but they are crazy and they might be immoral where they lack, the moral boundaries of well, maybe I shouldn't do this. This is unethical. Where they're like, no, I really need to create the perfect being. And they keep mixing things together in order to make that happen.
That sounds like a recipe for disaster.
Like what if they find an animal that like, oh, well, this animal has like some kind of lizard, right? Because it has regenerative properties. And then, oh, well, you know what? I really like snakes or spiders would work as well, or maybe even certain fish because of this venom they have. So it makes them like the ultimate killing thing. Right. And then, maybe they take some kind of herbivore like a bull or oxen or something like that because it's really strong and durable. And they want to just like, and they want to add those qualities to it. And like, and they, you start adding these things together. And, maybe they take like one of their great cats as well because, because they're like the apex predators, to see what you can get from that. So just imagine now you've got you've got this creature that is like the size and the has the size and the power of some kind of oxen, right? But it's got the lithe form of a cat, complete with fangs and claws.
Nice.
Because of the lizard aspects of it, maybe it's and maybe the fish aspects as well. I'm thinking maybe that makes it not only does it make it amphibious because it can breathe underwater, but now it's got armor plating in the sense that it's got scales, so it makes it tougher than flesh or fur.
So maybe the scales on a small sized lizard aren't enough to actually represent armor, but once you make it to a bigger creature, that
Like a
hardiness,
crocodile,
yeah.
it's got that thick hide to it. And we already said, well, if maybe we're using a spider or a snake or maybe even just a type of fish to add in there for the venom. So now that either the claws or the bite are venomous as well. So like literally that is how we make up new monsters in Dungeons and Dragons, and that like is the very old school way of doing it, and that's like one example. So like the wizard puts these things together, and oh, you know what? The problem is the temperament's wrong because this thing is stubborn like a bull and has a bad attitude, and it's like a cat and it just wants to kill everything.
So it's either on hunt or lazy. I'm killing or I'm doing absolutely nothing.
Yeah, pretty much. So he cast that monster away, right? And he's like, well, that didn't work. What was the problem? Oh, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't have used the bulb. It just made it too stubborn. And then he tries something else. And you could do a whole adventure with this where, like before the characters ever find the person that's making this stuff, they just encounter these cast-offs. Like he doesn't even care either, does it? Like he's like, I'm done with it, get out. And and he just sends it away somewhere and never thinks about it again.
Yeah, it could literally just appear magically wherever because it's a powerful enough wizard that it can just do that.
Well, you could do it that way, but that would be tougher for the adventure if you're like, this is a problem to solve. Maybe they have collars or something, with like numbers on them or something, numbers or something because it's like, and might even say something like experiment, 267 or whatever. I would use the stitch numbers if I remember them.
626.
Yeah, and it might be along those lines where it's like, oh, yeah, I don't need this, but they do have a collar or a tag or something, and so the players would be like, this doesn't make sense. Like, this means somebody had to tag it, something like that. So they like from there your adventure can start.
I've done this over and over again. I've made a humanoid scorpion. I've made a lightning cat. There's plenty of things that you can mix and match together. There is so many ways to just grab two things, see how they're gonna mix, add multiple things, and put it all in there. Put it in a box, shake it up, and see what comes out. And you can make all kinds of interesting and fun things. And it's the imagination behind it. It's the idea that what you've wound up creating, it's yours. And chances are it hasn't been seen at another gaming table. So that thing that you're offering up to your players winds up being a unique creation that you all get to enjoy and possibly over and over again if it's gone rampant and now there's loads of them.
Well, that's like the fun thing too, is like figuring out the backstory and this story that you're going to be able to tell with these things. And like you said, like, does something happen where it's going to then become populated in your world. They're not going to be able to get rid of it. Like, in the one example that I used that I just made up on the spot, like, well, what if he combined like the fish, but it was like pregnant? And so now this thing lays eggs like a fish, like tons of them, right? So they kill the monster, but the eggs are still there, and they end up incubating and hatching, and so you end up with a bunch of these things, and they start breeding, off in the wilderness somewheres, and then they start spreading before you even realize that there's a problem.
So before there's a problem, they're now a race. They're now rampant.
It's a
in your
species,
world.
yeah.
Yeah. So you've got the ability to say, okay, well, they've been added to the world. They've been added to this culture, and there you go. There's your backstory for how something new has been added to your realm to make your realm, unique and interesting.
Or the idea that like this insane wizard, has a lot of colleagues that are a little off too, and he makes sure to send out all of his work to them before you happen to off him and stop him from doing it anymore. So you have other people out there creating these things as well.
Oh man, I'm loving that idea.
Yeah.
The fact that there's many mad wizards sharing their research with each other.
Yeah, maybe there's a college that they all graduated from. The alumni are all like doing these crazy experiments.
Now I'm thinking,
You have an organization now too.
I'm thinking organization, and I'm thinking School of Wizardry. The Mad Wizard.
Well, yeah, that could very well be. So what do you think, guys? Would you use this in your game? Have used it in your game? What we really want, though, is to hear your crazy combinations down in the comments below. While you're at it, like, share, and subscribe.
Don't forget to check out the link to Drive Through RPG or GM's Guild. Don't forget that promo code.
So until next time.
Stay nerdy.